And I believe we are live. Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of Adored Tech. Thanks for joining, and very sorry we've been gone for a little bit. I think it's been about 2 weeks now since we've done a stream. Um, Hopefully, though, everything will be back on track, and we will be doing this weekly again. Although, of course, if anything changes, we'll let you guys know. As always, I'm your host, Donny. With me is my co-host, Alex. Alex, how
Hello,
are you
everybody.
doing? And today we're going to talk about a few different topics. AMD's next generation image upscaling for games. And then XFX has had some issues in China, which is worth talking about. GPU prices, of course, as always, we'll be discussing those. Looking good, actually. And a few other topics, including our headline topic, which is Threadripper dead? Our thoughts on that later on. For now, Alex, I'm going to hand this over to you while you give us a word from our sponsor for this stream.
Today, our sponsor is VIP Your CD Key. They have partnered with us, giving you an additional discount on Windows 10 keys with code ADTV. This will save you about 15% or 25% and let them know that we sent you. I used it for a Windows 10 key, which is a full legal key that can be upgraded to Windows 11 for free if you so choose. However, I'm pretty happy with Windows 10 for now. Big thanks to those guys for making this stream today possible. Now, you can either use your credit card to pay for it. However, I use PayPal because that's what I feel most secure with. And while you're waiting for your order to complete, feel free to check out the video. Feel free to check out some of the videos on our channel or sub to our Patreon. So once the order is complete, wait a few minutes. And this took me about 2 minutes to get the purchase confirmed. Next, type in activation settings and add product key. Once that's open, take the key that's on the web page and copy it and paste it into the Windows dialog box, and boom, you're done. You now have an activated key of Windows for under $15. Thanks once again for VIP CD Your Key for giving us this cool sponsor spot.
Okay, and with that, we're going to jump into our first subject. Let me just pull this up. So recently, the developer CapFrameX of the popular benchmarking software tweeted something out about that AMD FSR 2.0 is coming / going to be announced soon. He said he personally saw some footage that's very impressive. He had a few bullet points about it that said that it will feature temporal upscaling plus optimized AA. It doesn't need any form of AI. Runs on GPUs from all vendors, so that's AMD, Intel, and NVIDIA. Impressive performance and image quality, and AMD claims that it can be better than native. Of course, NVIDIA claims that about DLSS as well.
Which is just, it's not true.
To further this, AMD themselves posted that they are going to be talking about next generation image upscaling for games at this year's GDC. Of course, they didn't give us any details about what that is, but if CapFrameX is to be believed, and I have no reason to doubt him at this point, then it's looking like we're going to be getting a new version of FSR, which will feature temporal upscaling. So I'm assuming it's something that's like similar to Unreal Engine's native TAAU implementation. I do wonder, though, if them adding the temporal side of things, even though that can improve quality, if we're going to see that it's more difficult to implement for developers compared to FSR right now. What are your thoughts, Alex?
I mean, I think any other options in this is good for the industry. I mean, FSR definitely had some of its own flaws, and this is supposed to be an improvement of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about FSR is it doesn't use any sort of temporal upscaling. It's kind of a more traditional upscaling approach. But with that, while you don't get as good quality as you would with a temporal approach, like what's in Unreal Engine or even DLSS, you do get some other improvements where like the ghosting is not as bad.
Yeah.
And other temporal artifacts you get from some temporal anti-aliasing or temporal upscaling, I should say, approaches. Still, I've noticed like FSR is really only good if you're doing at least 1080p as the native source and upscaling to like something like 4K and using like the ultra quality or quality presets. Anything lower than that, and it's not really all that good. I mean, it's free and easy to use because it's so widely available and and supported on so much hardware. I mean, even the Steam Deck supports it, which is really cool. But I'm very interested in what they're going to be talking about here. Can't wait to really see it. I do hope that they figured out a way to make it something like a drop-in upgrade for current FSR. Like if a developer already implemented FSR, they can update their game with this easily. I know AMD announced at CES that they have Radeon Super Resolution, which is basically just FSR at the driver level. They've not released that yet and haven't given us any update on when it's coming. I thought it would be coming, with the release of these Ryzen 6000 laptops, but that doesn't seem to be the case yet. So clearly they're working some stuff out.
I mean, yeah, I mean I think we talked about that before, where you said that you were thinking it would be around the 6000 series laptops, but yeah, I mean I don't know. Seems like you're getting prepared to talk about something else.
Yeah, I'm pulling up our next subject. Actually, Alex, if there's some questions in the chat you want to grab,
yeah, I mean, so
we
we have a bunch of people asking, talking about the Threadripper thing, which I think we're going to touch on later, anyways. We got a question from Photography wedding photographer asking if Jim is okay, and I mean, we spoke to him. I think Donny, you spoke to him kind of recently.
Yeah, he's doing just fine. I mean, I couldn't tell you when he's ever going to be doing a video again. We didn't really discuss that, but he is doing okay. Let me see here. I have this next thing ready.
And even if he would, he probably wouldn't want to give us a timeline because he wouldn't want to give himself any, sort of hard set date that he'll be back or not, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't want to get anybody's hopes up or raise expectations or whatever. There will be eventually a video on this channel that will just have a Jim video. That'll just happen one day. But go ahead.
Speaking of Jim,
nice.
You can check out our new shirt. I finally got a sample in, so now I can actually demonstrate it for you guys. You guys can see my very dad bod physique I have going. But yeah, if you want to pick up one of our All Right Guys, How's It Going shirts, you can check out our merch store at merch.adored.tech. And we would appreciate any support you guys give us there.
All right, guys, how's it going?
Exactly.
So where's the mug though? Weren't you supposed to send me the mug? Whatever happened about that?
I've got it in the back. I've had so much going on. I haven't got a chance to mail it to you, to be honest. So
he's always busy.
I unfortunately am nowadays. So graphics card maker XFX has recently been busted in China for they've had about 5,000 illegal graphics cards seized by the Chinese customs authorities. Basically, they've been mislabeling cards with specifications and names that don't match in order to avoid paying the proper taxes. It's basically a tax evading scheme of some sort. It's pretty interesting. This is apparently the Chinese division of XFX. I don't know and haven't spoken to anyone from the US side of things about it. There hasn't been any comments about it, but it's pretty crazy story. The interesting thing I found is that apparently this is kind of common practice in China, and there's a lot of mislabeled boards that go out in order to get lower pricing on taxes. Alex, what are your thoughts here? What do you think about tax evasion?
For legal purposes, I will say you should always pay your taxes and trust the government. It is their money that they rightfully deserve, and it's good for everyone. And you should never, ever, ever do anything like this. Okay, now that's out of the way. I mean, they're going to try to do stuff like this whenever they can. A lot of companies are going to do this. I mean, companies even do stuff like doing this with customs and labeling stuff different prices through customs like that. That happens too.
Yeah, I'm seeing the article says that a total of 150,000 new and used graphics cards have been imported within the region using very similar methods. Yeah, that's pretty crazy to me. But then again, I think that's just kind of how business is done in China. I mean, not that I think that the business is done in the US very differently. Companies are avoiding paying taxes all the time. It's a
Well,
little bit
here we just bribe
disappointing.
senators, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah. It is a bit disappointing to hear a brand that I like in XFX, doing shady stuff like this in order to increase their profits, especially at a time where, profits are so high already. Apparently, the parent company, Pine Technology Holdings, somebody put in the comment section of WCCF Tech, has been having some pretty serious woes over the past year or so, well, over the past 5 years, I guess. Their stock has just been diving. So hopefully this is not a sign that XFX is going to be completely gone because despite this, I still like them to stick around as a brand. We need all the competition we can get in the GPU vendor space. But
And they make good graphics cards. I like their US team. You know, I like their products that they make. I think that the Merc cards were pretty good. The ones that I got to get my hands on.
VA Demon said the real question: will these GPUs be destroyed because contraband or just fine XFX? This will be a fine, so like penalty sort of situation. They aren't going to just destroy good products. It's just going to take some time before XFX can get those products back, so they can go through the process over again and get them back on shelves.
This one was interesting. Probably just forgot to bribe someone. I mean that could have absolutely been the kind of case where, they did the wrong thing to the wrong person or something, and this is the kind of thing that floats around a lot. Wouldn't shock me, honestly.
I mean, yeah, it could be that this is done usually, and then they, like you said, they forgot to grease the right palms, and now they're paying the price. I don't know.
I am from New Jersey. I don't know what you mean about any of that. I have no idea what anybody greasing palms means. I've never heard anybody doing anything like that.
Ever?
No.
Chris Christie didn't shut down a whole bridge?
Hey, we can't talk about politics. That'll get us banned off of YouTube, even if it's like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, this is just U.S. history at this point. Come on, man. Moving on to our next topic.
Jensen himself snitched on XFX, VA Demon said.
Wouldn't surprise me at all. That guy's a monster. He does not fuck around. So,
What'd you put up?
I just clicked on the wrong thing. Anyway, there are new Ryzen 5000 CPUs coming, despite the fact that, yes, Zen 4 is also coming this year. As early as April, we should start seeing a number of new Ryzen 5000 series processors, including the recently announced 5800X3D, as well as a cheaper Ryzen 7 5700X, which should compete directly with the Core i5 12600K, as well as a Ryzen 5 3600, 5600, sorry, non-X part that will compete better with the Core i5 12400 and 12400F.
Never mind. I was gonna grab my i5, but I've realized it's in a motherboard right now.
Oh, yes. Apparently, there'll also be a Ryzen 5 5500. I think that might be a 6-core without hyper-threading again, although I don't really have the specs here. And then AMD is also rumored to launch a refresh of the Ryzen 4000 series, those parts will be based on the Renoir X chips, which are essentially the same as Renoir but have their iGPUs fused off, and then there are changes to the clock speeds. I don't know how much interest people have on something like a Ryzen 7 4700 at this point, but maybe if it's cheap enough. I do think there will still be some interest for things like a 5600 and a 5700X. But yeah, I mean, this is obviously them AMD just trying to get as much life out of AM4 before they roll out their new AM5 platform.
Honestly, I don't think it's a terrible thing, because what you can do, especially because they've managed to make sure B450 and some older boards are compatible with these now. You're just giving people more options to have, 2-3 years down the road to want to keep their systems running. I don't think it's a bad idea at all, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of depend though, because apparently across the stack between them, they're going to have Vermeer X, which is 3D Vcache, Cezanne, and Renoir X parts. So like that's a lot of different architectures for what is apparently 10 new SKUs in total.
I mean, it seems like they're just taking whatever they got and they're pushing it forward. The 4000 series parts, those are Zen 2 base, right?
Yeah, they're Renoir.
Yeah. Don Draper makes a good point here, and he says they're great for existing AM4 owners. Obviously, brand new, you're better off with Intel 12th gen. I think in a lot of cases, you're probably better off with Intel 12th gen. I think if anybody, there's probably arguments to go either way. But I mean, if you have an AM4 motherboard, you buy that.
Yeah,
you buy one.
I mean, especially with the recent like driver updates. I mean, I'm sorry, I should say bio updates, which is BIOS updates. Man, I can't talk today. Which allows even as far back as X370 and I think B350 motherboards to support these.
So my friends with Gen 1 Ryzen on what would it be, on like like an X370 ASRock board can pick up a new chip, and it's a lot faster than what they had.
Yeah, I mean, the 5700X, if
7 years, I'm sorry, 4 or 5 years down the road that a lot of these people would have had these boards for, and they get another 2 or 3 out of it, maybe even longer.
Yeah, the 5700X is looking to be landing around $299, I guess. And I mean, at that price, it's very competitive with the 12600K, which I think is a 10-core processor. You get 6 big, 4 little. This is an 8-core processor, but it's hyper-threading. So, yeah, it should be pretty competitive. That being said, like, obviously, if you're planning to buy a new motherboard and everything, then you're better off with Alder Lake, because at least you also then get Raptor Lake as an upgrade path. Whereas, whatever you buy here from this lineup is likely going to be your last processor on that platform.
I think we're going to have fun with the Raptor Lake thumbnails.
Oh, yes. I could see a lot of raptors just floating in lakes.
My mouth is going to be wide open. A raptor is going to be jumping out of it. There's going to be fire. I don't know. I'm going to be really angry.
This sounds like a lot of work for me, because you don't know how to do any of that.
I feel like, I don't know. I feel like the more deranged your thumbnail, the more people click on it.
The YouTube algorithm would agree with you.
Maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we need to have more deranged, insane thumbnails.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to keep it pretty light in terms of the thumbnails for the podcast, but I don't know. Maybe next time I'll just have like one with like just your eyeballs popping out or something. Like, I can't believe it. I don't know what the topic will be, but who cares? Doesn't matter. Everything's exciting.
I have like 2 knives in my hand. I don't know.
Don Draper said, hopefully AM5 is legendary too. Hopefully. I think, AM5 is going to support DDR5, PCIe 5, some other kind of 5. And
some other kind of 5. Yeah. USB 5.49A dash colon alpha omega.
yeah, probably not.
No, that's too much.
No,
You sure?
no,
You sure they wouldn't
no,
go that far?
it's just going to be it's USB 3 Gen 15 feature level 2, which is exactly the same as just USB 3, but
Type omega. Sigma male. What am I even saying? By the way, guys, how does everybody like my sweater today? It's not from any company.
There's no. Does it have any words on it or anything? It's just a blue sweater.
No, it's.
Oh, it's because you're an Intel shill.
You got me.
Secret Intel shill. That's why he's so excited for Raptor Lake, guys. He's getting that new check.
It's gonna be like $300.
Speaking of checks, we actually don't get that many. So if you want to help us out, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/adoredtech. That helps out this podcast as well as any other video content that me or Alex does on the channel, or any of the other guys. And it helps out the website as well.
Speaking of checks, that was good. What? Were you prepared for that, or that just? You know what? No. Let's not tell them. They can't know. They shouldn't know what's happening behind the curtain or keyboard, whatever.
Behind the keyboard. All right. Let's get into this next topic before
I am not being professional tonight. I'm sorry for everybody here.
GPU prices are actually looking pretty good. So
I promise you, I haven't drank tonight.
You say that every time, and I don't believe you.
I'm gonna do it next time.
3dcenter.org, the German website, has reported the latest German retailer pricing for graphics cards. They do this pretty much every couple of weeks, and we report on it whenever it's noteworthy. But the latest chart shows that graphics card pricing has steadily declined even further, with as of March 6th, the latest pricing has Radeon cards at 35% over MSRP and NVIDIA cards at 41% over MSRP. That's down from like an average of 50% in mid-February. So that's pretty good. Here in the US, we've actually seen card prices go down a bit as they become more readily available at retailers and e-tailers like Newegg and Amazon. If you go there now, you'll find things like the RTX 3050, RX 6600 and 6600 XT, as well as the 6700 XT in stock. The lowest prices I've seen recently was like 700 for an RTX. For an RX 6700 XT on Amazon, as well as about 529 for an Asus TUF RTX 3060. That was on Newegg, although it is already out of stock, but it was in stock today. So it's definitely something that's worth to continuously checking out if you're in the market for a card, because you might be able to grab one at a fairly reasonable price. 529 is still more than I want to pay for 3060, because I'd rather pay 429 or 439 for a RX 6600, which is actually available on Newegg right now.
Unfortunately, the problem with this is any money that you'd end up saving on a graphics card, you're going to spend on food and gas. So kind of like
that actually that brings another point I wanted to make, that although graphics card prices are steadily declining and have since February, the problem is now with fuel prices going up because of the war and other factors. It's really hard to know if these prices are going to keep going down, or if we're actually going to end up seeing them bounce back up in response to increased shipping costs and other logistical costs. That's kind of the unfortunate thing of the world we're in right now. But all we could do is take this, the W as it is right now. And if you're in the market for a card, maybe take a look at some of the options that are available right now.
Nicodemus Stroud said that he picked up a 3060 Ti for about $700. I mean, that's honestly not bad because that's about, MSRP of what a 3070 is supposed to be. And a 3060 Ti isn't that much behind a 3070. I mean, it's
No,
not terrible.
they're very close.
So, I mean, I would be, if I waited this long, I would be happy if I could afford that and that number was okay with me. I would be totally fine with a 3060.
Yeah, I mean, you can get a 6600 XT for 529, I think, is the price I've seen on Newegg recently. And I'd probably be more comfortable with that because performance is not that far off of 3060 Ti and pricing is lower.
Dolan9 says that he's seen 6700 XTs dipping to near $600. That would be a really good purchase. If you can get one of those for like 650 or something, 680, that's good.
Yeah. There is an XFX card on Amazon available right now for $699, but I did see one earlier today. I don't remember what it was exactly. Like it was a 6700 XT. I just can't remember the vendor.
Why don't you link that in the chat so that we can,
But yeah, while I did see the 6700 XT, that was like, I think it was $649. But I can't find it anymore, so it might have just been my imagination. Prices are crashing faster in the US. Yeah.
Yep, Mike Brazone said that. Yep. Don Draper says that that's a great price for a 3060 Ti, and I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not mad at $699 for a 3060 Ti if that's the price you're comfortable with. Like I said, I'd probably rather spend $529 on a 6600 XT, but maybe features like DLSS or RTX are way more important to you, which is fine.
Nicodemus said his intention is to sell his 2060 Super to a friend to get a little back. I mean, eBay prices on those cards are still sitting somewhere between, I think, $450 and $500. So, I mean, if you want to be a cool friend and give it to him for like $350, that's probably a really good deal.
Computer Tech Supplies says, quote, "I'm poor sitting here waiting on a card for 300 max." Well, yeah, I mean, the only thing in that price range right now is the 6500 XT. I saw them as low as $229 on Newegg today. That's not a terrible price for that card, but as everyone knows, that card has a lot of issues in terms of performance. If you've got Gen 4, and everything, and you don't have a card that's already that fast, then I guess it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll see the prices on the cheaper cards starting to get pushed down, like the more budget, like the 6600 stuff. But yeah, you're not going to find something better in a Vega 64, but you might want to consider selling that Vega 64 and buying something with what that's worth.
The Vega 64 is still a really excellent miner, and well, it's hard to encourage mining. It's being done, so yeah, go out and sell that card for what it's worth. It's probably worth a lot right now, and buy something else that you might end up getting something that's around the same, but you pocketed some money, or you might get a free upgrade. If you could sell that card for RX 6600 money, that's buy an RX 6600. It's a good upgrade.
Might be able to get more than that, honestly.
Maybe.
Jiraiya de Souza said it was 600 at Newegg, the 6700 XT, that is, also 629 on Amazon. Yeah, I mean, that's a good price for that card. That's a really good card.
That's a fantastic price. I mean, let's see, their $480 was the MSRP for that card that we never ever seen. So
and if it's an XFX card, it's going to be an aftermarket card, so it's probably going to be really sitting in the range of like $500, $510, something like that. So I mean, yeah, it's a lot of money. It's 20% markup, but I mean, after everything we've dealt with, I think 20% is nice.
Yeah. The The RTX 3050 is still disappointing though. The cheapest I've seen one of those was like $380 on Newegg, and like that's still hard to recommend over an RX 6600, even though it's a little cheaper.
Jay Hopkins says he bought a 6800 XT an hour ago at Best Buy. I'm curious how much you paid for it. Are they still going for like $1,200, $1,500?
I mean, if he got one at Best Buy, he might have actually got something like MSRP, which
That
at
would
that
be
point was
insane.
fantastic.
Yeah, Mark
See.
Gallant says the 6700 XT is an awesome deal. He bought one for his spouse's rig for 144 1080p. It's honestly it's better than that. That's kind of overkill.
It's overkill for that, but that's still a great use case, I think. Because you're going to be killing everything for that.
I love that card. The little time that I had with it, I think I had it for about a month, and I used it for I don't know, maybe 2 weeks out of that to actually try to use it as a primary card. Really good. It was really good. I think you have one in your like streaming computer or something, your home theater computer.
Yeah, I've got a ASRock Phantom Gaming D, the exact same one you reviewed.
That's right.
I did a build with it.
It might have even been the same exact
card. Yeah, it probably was. They sent me a whole bunch of parts to do a Phantom Gaming theme build, and I just kept that build around to use it as an HTPC build. So I do 4K 60 on it, and it plays everything without a problem. I don't use it a whole lot because I mostly game at my PC, but it's pretty nice when I want to game in my bedroom, because that's where I use it.
That sounded kind of suggestive the way that you said that until you cleared it up. So Michael here says that in about 8 weeks, GPU prices will be down even below normal pricing. So just be patient for a bit longer. I don't know about that because I am giving like $5 a gallon for gas. I'm paying way more for food than I normally do. I mean, maybe you guys should go to Home Depot and just do some price checks on some stuff that was what it was 6 months ago. That stuff is going to trickle down.
Is real.
That stuff is going to be a part of your material costs for this stuff. It's just going to be.
I mean, I hope you're right though. If 8 weeks everything's back to normal, that'd be fantastic. I'm not so sure about that, but things are looking good so far in terms of GPU pricing, at least.
Yeah, he goes on and he says in the US and Canada, you're still paying the tariffs. Here in the UK, the prices are falling fast. Well, the UK is also a much smaller market, and it's a little bit more subject to change with that. With us, we have the supply chain issues of everything here.
I mean, the UK is a smaller market, but they also have more logistical issues when it comes to getting products from Asia. And then on top of that, they don't have as much product in the market, so their prices tend to not go down as fast usually. I mean, we'll see.
600 RX 6700 XT is the new MSRP. I really hope so.
I think he means like that's the new bottom of.
I hope that's where it sits at. I hope that these cars, because these were going for $1,000. I mean, there's a video title that has a decent amount of views and a lot of angry comments of me talking about the 6700 XT at $1,000. It's, it's down $400 from that. That's a pretty good number to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, there's still most of the cards on Newegg are still sitting around $800 though. But yeah.
Silvio says that inflation will make CPUs more expensive, not to mention material costs from Russia. There's some stuff that comes from there. There's what's that article I was reading? Neon gas that they use for silicon manufacturing in the chip making process. Something like 50% of that comes from Ukraine in a part that's currently in a war zone right now. So
a lot of natural resources that we use in things like electronics and stuff are definitely coming from places like Ukraine and Russia. So there's going to be a point where that hits the market pricing on stuff. It's probably sooner rather than later. Hopefully, things start to die down there in terms of the conflict really soon, but it's not looking like it. Before we get into our next topic, though, I just wanted to remind everybody that if they like the stream, to please like and subscribe if they're not already a subscriber. Definitely helps the YouTube algorithm, not put us at the complete bottom every time, and maybe remind people that they actually like to watch the channel. So yeah, definitely do that if you can. Let's see here. What is the next topic? Oh, it is the Ryzen Threadripper thing. This one is actually pretty easy
Is
to get into.
Threadripper dead? Is it? I don't know. You tell me.
Why are you getting so close to the microphone?
I don't know. I like how it feels getting close to the mic. It feels like I'm getting a lot more up close to the audience, and you guys can sort of hear me and understand that I'm being a little bit softer, and I don't know.
So yeah, hold on a second. I forgot to change the. Okay, so AMD recently announced the latest generation Threadripper Pro, which is the Threadripper Pro 5000WX series. These include a number of new processors that range from 12 cores and 24 threads to all the way up to 64 cores and 128 threads, and feature the Zen 3 architecture found in desktop Ryzen 5000 consumer CPUs. This has been a long time coming because, I mean, obviously Ryzen 5000 has been out since 2020, I think was when it launched. And now we're 2022 and we're just getting Threadripper Pro 5000. The thing is that what's missing from this announcement is that there are no Ryzen Threadripper CPUs that support the STRX 40 platform. That's the more consumer-focused enthusiast platform that you can actually purchase CPUs for in the PC DIY space. Threadripper Pro is OEM only, so you have to buy a workstation that is completely pre-built in order to get Threadripper Pro. It's kind of interesting to me because I saw this coming, honestly, years ago before they announced STRX 40. I thought that Threadripper was going to be dead. And then they announced STRX 40, a new generation of Threadripper motherboards and stuff. And I thought, well, I guess I was wrong because it seems like they're putting their full support behind this high-end desktop platform. But now it looks like we're only going to get one generation of processors on STRX 40, which is really, I mean, it's disappointing to say the least. I mean, what do you think about this, Alex? And what do you think this means for just high-end desktop platforms in general?
So, I don't know. I mean, I think I hate to sound like I'm someone that I would have yelled at 10 or 15 years ago who said only anybody needs is a dual core or a quad core. I really hate to sound like that person, but you can have 16 cores on your mainstream desktop system. I want to say for a very large majority of the home computer market that includes enthusiasts, not people who do Excel spreadsheets on their computer sometimes or watch YouTube videos, like people like us. 16 cores is probably more than enough, and we're probably going to see more than that very soon. I wouldn't be shocked if pretty soon we see 32 or 24 or what have you from Intel and AMD in the next couple of years. And the real, I guess, use case for those really heavy high-end CPUs is for workloads that aren't really necessary right now for most people. You know what I mean? Like you're making a product for a very, very specific market, and the margins on it have to be very, very high to make it make sense.
Yeah, and I mean, all of these chips can technically be used in Epic platforms where they make even more money, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of going to be the problem there is you wonder, could we just serve the same people if we just made them buy Epic platforms?
Well, Threadripper Pro is sort of that already. Like,
Mhm.
if you really need that kind of core count and you're doing that professional level work, you can buy Threadripper Pro workstations. The thing
And
is, though,
would they
is that
cannibalize their own market by having a bunch of 128 core CPUs that people could just buy instead of
yeah,
having to buy Epic stuff?
but traditionally high-end desktop platforms weren't just about, you know, being workstations. There were enthusiast grade hardware
Mhm,
that you can build your own systems around
mhm.
that could do all of these very, you know, uh, intense tasks and workloads, you know. But now it seems like as core counts have increased so much on consumer levels, like maybe you don't need so many PCIe lanes or quad channel memory and stuff like that. So then just getting, something like a 16 core, maybe even a 24 core could be what they have as the top end on consumer is enough. Like you're
Yeah,
still going to be
so
able to do.
the biggest thing that I saw people use Threadripper for was the extra PCI lanes and the IO and the ability to drop in a bunch of NVMe drives and the fact that they could have extra devices like sound cards, a lot of professional sort of workload stuff. But that is a very small market of people. And that's kind of the question here. And with the difficulty that AMD is having supplying the market as it is, Threadripper as a product probably just doesn't really need to exist for them for a little while, as long as they're going to be selling everything that they make.
Mhm.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, this is a large product to invest in to hope that you sell the few that you do.
Yeah, my main issue is that it's not like third gen Threadripper was launched on X399 motherboards,
Hmm.
and so that was the last generation of Threadripper. They had three generations on that socket. It's fine. They came out with a brand new socket STRX40 specifically for third generation Threadripper,
Yep.
and then now it seems like they have no intention of releasing a fourth generation
Which is
Threadripper or
which is
fifth
honestly
generation, whatever you want to
terrible.
call it.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
terrible.
and people spent a lot of money on those motherboards and that platform, and they have no upgrade path now. That is incredibly disappointing, to say the least. Uh, if I was one of those people who bought Threadripper, uh, third gen, I would be infuriated. Like I would be
Oh,
very angry
absolutely. Absolutely.
that
I completely understand.
I have no way to upgrade that. And you might say, well, do they really need to upgrade? I mean, it depends on what they're doing. Like if they bought it for professional use, and a lot of people who bought Threadripper did, they would like the performance increases that they get with this new processor. And it's been a few years now, so if they're making money on that system, they can afford to buy a new processor. But now they have to, if they want an upgrade, then they have to buy Threadripper Pro, which is an entire system from an OEM. Maybe they don't want to do that. Maybe they need a bespoke system. Uh, or they're going to be looking at what the competitor has to offer. Right now, that's nothing. So that's one good thing AMD has going for it, and clearly they know that. But it does seem like there's the potential that Intel could be releasing a high-end desktop platform upgrade pretty soon. Um, so
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly it's a shame for all of those people because if you built one of those systems, you probably spent north of $2,500 on your system, which now is a 3090. But in normal world, that was a lot of money for a system. I mean, I know people that spent 4 or 5 grand on their Threadripper systems. And it's an absolute shame that they won't have something to upgrade to. But it seems like AMD just doesn't have the supply and doesn't really care because they have too many mouths to feed, so to speak.
I mean, doesn't have the supply is an easy cop out, especially when they're clearly releasing they're releasing Threadripper Pro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they can clearly meet that demand. And the difference between Threadripper and Threadripper Pro is that Threadripper Pro features have epic level feature sets like 8-channel memory and 128 PCI lanes, stuff like that. Whereas things are cut down more on regular Threadripper. So I think that they definitely could have released processors if they wanted to. They just don't want to.
Well, Nicodemus, it's not necessarily about people like you or me or Donnie needing a Threadripper system. It's more that very specific audience of people who spend a lot of money on those systems, and they use those systems, to feed themselves.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think a large sector of the people
You have to get up for 1 second.
I think a large amount of the people that use something like Threadripper for professional work probably are more interested in a Threadripper Pro that is a workstation that has, warranty and support and all of that, because they don't want to think about their system. They just want to use it. We're talking about people who do visual effects and 3D rendering and what have you. And yeah, they're just buying new boxes whenever they need them. But there are people who are enthusiasts, prosumer level people who build their own systems and have built systems using Threadripper. I mean, the numbers are definitely there. People built them. And now they don't have an upgrade path outside of just buying an entirely new system. That is disappointing to me. They could have addressed those customers, and if not, they should have planned better and not released STRX40 in the first place. Like they should have just at that point pushed everything towards the Threadripper Pro situation. So
I agree with you. So true.
I just think this is one of those situations where where AMD is showing that they don't really plan ahead too much.
Mm-hmm.
Because just releasing STRX40 in the first place, only to essentially, I mean, they're not calling it like end of life, but it essentially is. They haven't talked about releasing anything for it.
I mean, here's the truth, though. They could wait 2 months and then release 2 products and say they did it. They could release the top 2 SKUs and say we did it for you. There you go. They're $80 bajillion.
Yeah.
Is that a Resident Evil mug or?
It is a Zotac Gaming and Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City edition water bottle that Zotac sent me. Zotac sent me or Zotac sent me this water bottle as well as some other cool resin Welcome to Raccoon City.
Yeah, I have a Coke can. How you feel about that?
And merch. Like I don't know where it's at. Oh, here it is. This is a Resident Evil Umbrella Corp umbrella that I will not open because
you're inside of a house.
But it is pretty cool. But yeah, you can see the bottom cap has the umbrella logo. It's pretty cool. I was really enthused about that because I'm a big Resident Evil fan.
All right. So,
I mean, it's an umbrella, guys.
So Rob Sim says that he has a 3960X. He does uni work, a VR dev, Unity, and 3D modeling. I mean, that could be something where you would take advantage of a bunch, of course. So, oh, Jill Sandwich. Wow, is that Jill Valentine on a sandwich? Yes.
Jibble Sandwich. That is, I miss how just cringy and horrible the old Resident Evil games were in terms of voice acting and stuff. Like, I love those games so much. The new ones are fantastic too. I've played them all, but there's just something that is so great about the old ones and just how
what was the quote from Resident Evil 1?
Intentionally difficult everything is in terms of the controls and everything. Quote from Resident Evil 1, which one?
And the famous one that always gets made fun of, one of the really bad lines when you first walk into the mansion.
I don't know. There's so many. like,
And the worst part is it sounds like it was recorded on someone's 2004 like Razr phone or 2002 Razr phone, and they just stuck it in the PlayStation.
But back then, I remember playing it with my brothers and sisters, and we were all like, "Wow, this looks amazing!
This is like a movie."
Yeah.
I remember playing Mario 64 and being like, "Wow, video games are so amazing." Like, guys, there's a painting and you could jump in it, and there's like a door, and he opens it. Look, guys, he opens the door. I'm sorry.
Super Mario 64 is a game that has held up so well over the years. I still play it all the time.
I personally think Ocarina of Time did not hold up as well as Mario 64 did.
I wasn't as big a Zelda fan back then, so it's hard for me to really say one way or the other. But I have tried to play Ocarina of Time recently, and I will say that it's harder for me to play that than it is Super Mario 64.
Nicodemus is flexing on us right now, saying that his daughter does video editing in the light. Perhaps she may favor TR or the higher core counts because she was contracted to do PR stuff for NASA. Okay. I mean, wow.
My daughter's 10 months old and she's kind of almost walking. So what?
I don't have any daughters. I don't have a wife either. I mean,
and
can
with
somebody
that,
like put over a black pill thing or something? Like, come on.
Yeah, with that, let's get into our next topic before Alex remembers. Oh no, I don't.
Remembers what? You got to finish the joke.
No, I don't. I really don't.
Nicodemus says Elden Ring is looking pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet, and he hasn't taken the leap. I really want to play Elden Ring. I need time to play Elden Ring. I really want to. It looks so good.
So I haven't played it much, but I've messed around with it here. I mostly wanted to test it for performance stuff, like just to see how it was.
And did you see anything there? CPU
performance is bad. It has a shader caching issue that needs to be addressed. That's basically it. There is a consistent stuttering because it doesn't pre-cache shaders before you load into the game, like it should. And yeah, I mean, when the shader caching isn't happening, performance is pretty nice on my 6800 XT. But unfortunately, it happens a lot because it's an open world game and you're always finding new things to cache. Other than that, it is no. But it will happen like if the game updates or driver ups update. You'll have to recache the shaders. That's usually how it works. In terms of like gameplay, though, it's very difficult. You know, it's a Dark Souls game, even though it's not called Dark Souls.
Dark Souls is not hard. You just need to know how to play it. That's all. Once you understand those games a little bit, it's not as bad.
This one doesn't have you can't reliably parry. Like you have to dodge most of the time.
Can you reliably parry?
No.
No, I mean in other games, can you reliably parry? Like, because this might be.
Well, my understanding is in Dark Souls, like you can parry most attacks, and in this game you cannot. You just have to dodge.
Oh, you mean? Oh, well, I mean, there's a lot of people who just don't parry at all. They just roll and they roll spam.
Yeah, that is Elden Ring 101 now.
I mean, it's a lot of people do that. Get good, scrub.
Yeah, my first impression of it as somebody who wasn't really somebody who played Dark Souls was you just died the video game. And I'm not complaining. Like I like hard games. It's just you're gonna see the death screen a lot, so prepare for that.
Yeah, you like hard things. You just move on.
Intel CPUs can suffer up to 35% performance hit from Spectre V2 mitigations.
We got our first spam bot on Twitch. I just want to highlight this really quickly. Do you want to be famous?
Okay. I think I already am. No, So branch history injection, BHI, a new flavor of Spectre v2 vulnerability that affects both new and old Intel processors and specific ARM models, recently came to light. The Linux community was quick to act, and mitigations for BHI already formed a part of the Linux kernel in a matter of minutes after BHI's announcement. According to Phoronix, the Core i9-12900K, which is an Alder Lake CPU, has networking and storage performance went down the toilet after enabling what's called retpolines, which is return trampolines, which is the mitigation for this new Spectre. They recorded 26.7% performance loss on the former and 14.5% performance loss on the latter.
That's kind of massive.
The Core i7-11885G7, a Tiger Lake CPU, took an even more detrimental hit to storage performance. The results showed 35.6% and 34.1% lower performance in OS Bench and Flexible I/O Tester, respectively. Phoronix also notes that AMD processors aren't safe from BHI, even though modern Zen chips already leverage return trampolines. Yeah.
Return trampolines.
The impact of the but apparently AMD has to it will be patching to have introduced these new mitigations too. But we don't know what the performance impact will be on those processors, but Phoronix is conducting new tests to find out. It sounds to me like AMD is already doing a version of the mitigation, but it's not enough for the new for this new version of Spectre. So they'll have to be going even further, and that could result in performance losses as high as what Intel's demonstrating here. Maybe it'll be less. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a Tom's Hardware article saying that AMD drops about 10% after you do the mitigations for this, or that's what they're expecting or something. Which is a big deal, but I mean, those are some pretty serious performance losses you're taking in Tiger Lake. Do you think
even Alder Lake, 26%?
Do you think this is something that someone who is like an average user would want to enable, or do you think this is something more for professional use kind of thing?
I mean, it's hard to say because the performance losses are mostly, it seems, in IO intensive work. So if you're doing things like gaming or browsing the web, writing emails, watching videos, even encoding video,
fine. Yeah,
probably going to be fine one way or the other. You're probably not going to notice a significant performance decrease in those workloads. But IO intensive stuff like transferring large files or what have you, that that's a lot of performance to lose in that. And the thing is I think you're more likely to be doing really IO intensive stuff if you're in a situation where you really should be enabling these mitigations.
That's true. So it's a really, really bad deal.
Like, I'll put it this way. Having fast IO is important for prosumers and professional, workstation users, right? But having security is also important for those people. So
wouldn't also something like servers that handle like transfers for banks and stuff like that also be under that for IO?
Any servers that fall under this mitigation, like fall under this, like
this
any servers that can have a threat from Spectre v2 are going to install the mitigation. They have to, and they'll make up that performance loss by just
buying more systems.
Yeah, like they have no choice.
Yeah,
you can't afford to lose data or to have your.
Oh man, we're gonna have a lot of corporations buying a lot of hardware again.
Yeah.
Liam in Wales says, "Don't banks use mainframes like IBM?" Generally, yeah. I mean, some of their stuff is pretty old too. But I just mean more like anything in the sort of transaction realm. Stock stuff is also one of those things where I think they have pretty fast servers.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I said banks, I meant more like the finance kind of stuff.
Transactional processing.
Yep.
Like was on it. Yep.
VA Demon says that the IO claim is a bit misleading because IO means context switches. It's those that are expensive, like calls the OS kernel. I'm not entirely sure what he means by that.
I mean, I'll take your word for it. I just
what did he mean by that? Sorry.
Yeah, I think that people are probably going to take this 35% number and run with it and talk about it and say, and for certain you're going to see the AMD fanboys going around saying, look at Intel's losing 35% performance.
Maybe that would
without
be
any
fun to do
context.
for a video. How much performance do you actually lose with this mitigation stuff turned on?
Yeah, that could be interesting. I mean, Phoronix is already doing that. But if you're talking about in like regular real world consumer workloads.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it's probably worth doing. And with that, I guess we are on to our Q&A. But before we get into Q&A, we have another word from our sponsor. Alex, are you ready to?
Am I ready?
I don't know.
I don't think I think I'm as ready as I'll ever be. So just we're doing it live again. Today, our sponsor is VIP, your CD key, and they've partnered with us, giving you an additional discount. This is on Windows 10 keys with code ADTV. This will save you an additional 25% and let them know that we sent you. I used it here for a Windows 10 key, which is a full legal key that can be upgraded to Windows 11 for free, if you so choose. I'm still pretty happy with Windows 10 because I'm a curmudgeon. And big thanks to those guys for making our stream today possible. Now, you can use your credit card to pay for it. However, I use PayPal because that's what I'm comfortable using. And while you're waiting for the order, give it a few minutes. It took me about 2 minutes and the purchase was confirmed. You click there and view your key. After that, you type activation settings in Windows, add product key. Once that's open, take that key onto the web page and copy it into the Windows dialog box. And there you go. You're done. You've got an activated key of Windows for $15. Please be sure to check out our sponsors for, those videos. And if you're using it, use code ADTV. How was that one?
Sounds great.
Okay. I hope they'll not come for my family. That's a joke. They're VIP CD. Your key is.
What sort of agreement do you have with these people?
So yeah, onto the Q&A. I'm gonna get such a weird email from that. I know I am.
They're like, sir, why did you imply that we were going to break your legs or harm your family for this? I thought they were just paying you like, a couple of bucks for the stream, but man,
no, I do it to myself. It's different.
All right. So yeah, we are on to Q&A. So if you guys got any questions in the chat for us, let us know and we will address them.
Nicodemus Stroud said he'll be getting a new key after this build. Thank you very much, sweet. Nicodemus. Thank you for supporting us. And
Nicodemus is actually a Patreon supporter of ours.
Yes, he is.
In the Discord. Although I haven't seen you actually engage too much in the Discord. We're there if you ever want to talk, man.
Yep. We're just sitting there.
Yeah, I'm always there just waiting.
I take like 4 hours out of my day and I just stare at the Discord, and if nobody addresses me, I don't say anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I like, when I'm bored, I just pull my phone out and check it. But like, I guess you could do that too.
I mean, I could probably be working when I'm doing that. You know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe this is why I'm having all these time management issues.
Yeah, no, you're not optimizing your workflow, bro.
Do you know the soul for infinite wealth? I hope that's an Elden Ring thing, or is that a comment on advertisers? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think our sponsor was offering the soul for infinite wealth, but who knows?
Nicodemus Stroud says that he's in the mix of a promotion and move and unable to get on my PC as much as I'd like. Yeah, no, I completely understand that. I'm going to have to be moving in a month and a half from now. So that's going to be fun.
I would hope to never have to move again, although inevitably I will.
I am going to move with Donny. I'm going in his I'm going to sleep in that room.
Oh, this room here?
Yeah.
There's a chair there. I guess you can.
I mean, I'm
I
going
don't
to
have
bring
as
an air
many.
mattress. I'm going to bring an air mattress. I'm going to be honest.
Just don't bring any of those couches.
Crap. I mean, to be honest with you, it'd be kind of hard to bring these couches on the plane with me. Or do you think I'd take a U-Haul truck and bring these couches all the way from New Jersey?
Listen, you seem really attached to those couches. That's all I'm saying. I figured you would make whatever adjustments to your your travel accommodations is needed to get those couches where you're going.
You know, when I leave this place, I'm going to hug the couches one last time. This is not a good Q&A. I'm not. There we go. That's
Computer
a good
Tech Supplies. Sure gonna get me an all right, guys. Since YouTube does not like to take my poor country money. What does that mean exactly? Do you mean like the
country
currency
that
you're from doesn't like you're not allowed to do like super chats or something like that? Or do you mean like they don't count your view as like a view for advertising dollars? Because that's weird.
Thoughts on the i7 11700K? I already purchased. I've been watching mixed review on this processor. So that is
Rocket Lake,
Rocket
8 core.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm gonna be completely frank with you. It's better than the i9 that I have sitting in a box right now for what the cost of it was. If I were to buy one of those CPUs, I would have bought the i7 and saved a little bit of money. They're not bad. They're modern CPUs. They have some flaws compared to like the 10th gen stuff, but they also have some ways in which they're a little bit better. So I mean, it kind of depends. For gaming, those are pretty decent. I did a pretty long video about the 11400F and the 11600F or 11600K. And I mean, it wasn't as good as Ryzen 5th gen, but it was better than Ryzen 3rd gen by a significant amount. If you're going to be, if you're not looking
primarily like gaming and then just general computing, 11th gen is still fine.
I mean, yeah, if you already have it, it's okay. It's not bad. There's probably more optimized purchases you could make, but if you get the board kind of cheap or you get a deal on something, it's probably decent.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I wouldn't really recommend people be buying 11th gen, but there's a situation for everything. Maybe you get them cheap, or
yeah, if you got it cheap, or some guy on eBay threw a board in really cheap or something, you got a combo, something like that, could be fine.
Yeah.
He says he has an i7 8700K. I mean, it's going to be better than that. It's going to be better.
Yeah, it's an upgrade from that. I think it gives you a couple extra cores. I IPC is better and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I have an 11600K in one of my systems, and I'm perfectly happy with it for that. They're not bad processors. They just, compared to the competition, they're not as good in when they came out, and they were short lived because 12th gen came out.
Yeah. At 125 watts, is heat an issue? Yes. Yes. As long as you get a good cooler, it's going to be fine. But just make sure you find a good cooler and you don't cheap out on it. That's the only thing I would say. You probably already have a decent cooler, though. I'm going to assume.
Yeah, I mean, if you whatever cooler you're using for that A700K should be fine for.
So, like with the 3060 Ti, if you're not doing like really heavy esports stuff and you're playing some games casually that are pretty graphics bound, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
What resolution do you play at?
Don Draper said Z590M sounds high end. Yeah, that Z590 in general was the high end chipset for Rocket Lake and
the
what
Pro
was 10th gen? Comet Lake.
Yeah. So
M just means I think it's a micro ATX board, right?
Yeah, and the Pro is like one of the more mid-level things, but I mean, even then, a 590 board would be a high-end, cheaper board. This thing was probably $350 or something.
Nicodemus Stroud once again said, "I have an EK240 AIO.
Should be fine. Yeah, at 1440p, if you're not trying to push like 240 hertz or something like that, that CPU should be fine. You can look at my video that I did last year on the Rocket Lake stuff, and you could see some of the benchmarks there. I did that with the 3070. Yeah, I mean, $129 for that board is probably pretty decent. Yeah, those boards were not supposed to be very cheap. The Z590 stuff was not supposed to be very cheap.
Man, have you guys seen the prices of Z690 motherboards though? ASRock was recently reached out to send a mini ITX Phantom Gaming Z690 board, and I mean it's a nice looking board, but I think it's like $300, and I'm just like thinking, why would anyone spend this much money on a motherboard, especially a mini ITX board? That being said, like ASRock also has B660 motherboards
that are more affordable.
That are more affordable, yeah. Is it B660 or B670? They're called.
It's B660.
That are like $130, and you get basically all the same features that you'd care about. So, yeah,
I mean, look, if you're gonna go and you're gonna buy the top dog CPUs, the i7 or the i9, I wouldn't look at anybody weird if they spent $300-400 on a motherboard, especially if they're planning on upgrading to something from Raptor Lake later. So yeah, the thing about DDR5 is there are DDR4 motherboards for it.
Actually, before you get too far into that, I just want to actually read out the comment. So Nicodemus said, "Yeah, that's why I refuse to go 12th gen. Hell, DDR5. Lots of money signs." Don't you actually have another one that just came in? A more special one? Are you allowed to talk about that one yet?
So it's still in the box, and I haven't really unpacked it. If you want to give me a second, I can go and show that one off.
Sure.
Think I should show that off on stream? Hold on 1 second.
Yeah. So the thing about 12th gen as a platform, I would say, is yes, it can get very expensive, but if you don't need to be buying Z690 and you don't need to be buying DDR5. If you get a B660 motherboard that supports DDR4, you're spending a lot less money, and you're not really losing anything in terms of performance or features that you'd care about as a gamer, at least. There are certain things, maybe there's more I/O with Z690, but especially if you're doing a mini ITX build anyway, you're not going to get that extra I/O regardless. So Yeah, I think 12th gen is still affordable if you navigate it properly. If you're buying something like a Core i5 12400F, that's like $180, and you pair that with a B660 motherboard, that's $120, $130, and then an inexpensive kit of DDR4, you're going to get great performance for uh, $400 or $500 for the whole platform, not counting your graphics card and storage. Let me see here. Christina said, I am weird, I guess, but I really like the features differences in higher end boards, but I also have like 2 SATA SSDs and 7 NVMe drives. So there's that. Yeah, I actually, most of my storage in my system, I would say, is SATA, but I do have 2 NVMe drives. If you have 7, that's pretty interesting. Although I don't know
how
of any
well
motherboards.
you guys can see this, but Azrock sent us over an Aqua board with. Let me know if you could see the Adored TV logo on the bottom there. Should be on the South Bridge.
I'm not seeing it.
Can you see that right in the bottom? Small text.
Yes, I do see an inscription. I don't think I can really read it, but I'll take your word for it that it says Adored TV.
Yep. They sent this in a really fancy box, and they sent some extra DDR5, which was very nice of them. And I am waiting on some water cooling components to get this thing started.
So I guess we'll be seeing some content from you with.
It's going to take a little bit of while for me to source some of the water cooling stuff and get that ready, but when it comes out, it's probably going to be something funny. So we're gonna do something probably a little ridiculous. So let me put this thing back in the box because I don't want to drop it or anything.
Christina said, I have a PCIe board that runs off of 4x4x4x4 and runs 4 NVMe in a X16 slot. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's definitely one way to do it. Although, I mean, you don't necessarily need a higher end motherboard if you're using an expansion card anyway, as long as the boards have a sufficient amount of X16 slots. Which, I mean, yeah. Computer Tech Supplies said, or KMputer Tech Supplies said, that motherboard costs more than my entire system.
I just looked up the price on that thing. Wow.
How much is it?
$1,400 right now on eBay or on Newegg.
And I let them send it to you? Shit.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to do something with that. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but I'm gonna have to do something.
You're gonna have to get yourself an O11D Evo, I think they're called, the new ones, and just have fun, man. That's gonna be a pretty interesting build.
No wonder why I'm all smiles. Yeah, this was a care package that came to my door 2 or 3 days ago. I waited to sign for this package specifically because I don't know it cost that much, but I didn't want that thing sitting on my porch.
Have a good night, KMputer Tech Supplies. Thanks for hanging out. Don Draper said, should put Jim's autograph on it and put it on eBay. That's very interesting. I mean, he has to make content with the motherboard first, but after that, I mean, it's fair game. Fair game.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna keep this thing for as long as I know what computers are. You know, like when they put me in the home, maybe they'll get rid of it then. I don't know. What do you think, Donnie?
What do you mean?
Do you think I'll forget about computers when I go to the home, or you think I'll be ranting about computers?
I think if you live that long, it's a bonus. Yeah, I was reading that one too.
Al Bundy says, by the way, someone noticed on the official ASRock Aqua website on the picture of the back panel, the DP in port has the little metal ground thingy in the port. Nice. Well, I would never use DisplayPort on that motherboard, ever.
DisplayPort in. That's for the that would
Oh yeah, in, not out.
that's
Okay.
for Thunderbolt stuff.
Yes, that's fair.
Don Draper said we've seen really good tablet-esque PCs lately, such as the ROG Flow Z13. Yeah, the Z13 is pretty interesting. I think I saw a Linus Tech Tips video on it. It's like the Surface Pro, but it's has everything you'd actually want in a tablet PC that can be used for work and stuff.
So it has
I
the
think
ROG.
it'll take off.
It has the ROG branding. What kind of graphics does it have? Is it
Good question.
It's something good?
Yeah, they're doing a few different things with it. It does have a discrete GPU, but there's also a external box you can buy that has an RTX 3080M.
Okay.
You can use like a graphics dock type of thing. ROG Flow Z13. I think it has an RTX 3050M in it.
Don Draper says it's an RTX 3050. He thinks so. Yeah. Do you think it'll take off?
I think form factors like that are here to stay, and I definitely think we'll see more of them. I don't know if this particular one is going to sell really, really well. I mean, on one hand, you could say it's expensive, but I mean, if you're comparing it to the price of like an iPad Pro or a spec'd out Surface Pro, it's actually pretty reasonable. So the thing I would say that worries me about it is it's very gamer focused in terms of aesthetic and build, and obviously being ROG, but it is targeting a market that is much more for people who are doing like drawing and artwork and having that kind of tablet form factor. So I definitely think there might be some issues there in terms of the marketing of the product. But in general, I think the form factor is great, and I would buy one if I could afford it.
I think what's cool about something like this is it's something that is kind of modular and portable, and so there's this issue for a lot of people who are gamers who have a gaming computer, where like traditional gamer laptops are just really bulky, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to like do gaming on the go for somebody like me or you, I think it would be something like that instead of like a gaming laptop type thing. I like that form factor a lot.
Same. As somebody who prefers laptops that are thin and light and like, I don't know, 13 inches or so, I have an Acer laptop that has a Ryzen 7 4700U, and it's a 13-inch laptop.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't do a lot of intensive work, but I do like some photo editing on it and some Photoshop when I'm not at my actual desktop. And yeah, it's a good system for that. This tablet is even smaller than my laptop, and it's more powerful. So let's
Costs
see.
a lot more.
Nicodemus said, my friend asked about her Ryzen 5 3600 and when it would be outdated. Well, so outdated is a kind of a open-ended question in a lot of ways. Because like I could tell you, well, it's outdated now. It's already a few years old and whatnot. I'd be wrong if I said that, but I could.
I know people using Pentium 4s and like old Duron systems as spreadsheet computers.
It really depends on what she's doing for it. That processor becomes outdated when it stops doing what she needs, or what she wants, I should say. If you're happy with the level of performance you're getting from a Ryzen 5 3600, if it's delivering smooth frame rates in the games you play with the graphics cards you have, with the graphics card, I should say, then it's fine. And as long as it continues to do that, it'll be fine. I could see some users using a Ryzen 5 3600 for the next 5 years and not even thinking about upgrading. I can see other users wanting to get rid of that thing right now. Like, it all depends on what you're doing.
So this was in response to Jinx's question of, I have a Ryzen 3600. When should I buy my next CPU upgrade? Normal gamer here. Normal gamer is kind of a hard question to answer. Excuse me, but if I were to assume like the average, PC gamer that plays AAA games and some, popular esports titles or whatever, you probably have a couple of years ahead of you. Really, it's whenever your GPU is outpacing your CPU. Or when your CPU has trouble keeping up with your GPU. That's when you need your next CPU upgrade. I think most people could probably get away with a 3600 for maybe another 3-4 years.
Especially if you're gaming at 1440p or higher, and on a graphics card that, is somewhere in the performance range of a 3070 or lower, the Ryzen 5 3600 is going to be fine for a while. If you're looking for high refresh rate 1080p gaming, and when I say high refresh rate, I don't mean 120 or 144, I mean 360 plus. The Ryzen 5 3600 might be unable to get you there right now in some games. I think you have a pretty extensive amount of testing on this. There's videos on the channel right now. So yeah, if you're a competitive esports gamer and you want 360 hertz plus, maybe look at a 5600X right now. If you don't do those things, then keep that Ryzen 5 3600 until it stops working, or until you want to buy, a brand new platform a few years from now.
Yeah, I mean, I can look at something really quickly to give you an example. So let's see here. So with Apex Legends in the testing I did, the 3600X had an average FPS of 207, with 110 being the 99th lows, or the 99th percentile, with the 5600X having 270 to 159, and that was with the 3060. It was in the average FPS, the geo mean for all of the games that I tested in those videos, it was the difference between 319 average or 314 FPS for the 5600X to 205 for the 3600X, which is 107 odd frames, something like that, 109 odd frames. And it kind of depended on the title. I would load up the sheets here, but I don't think I can do that because they're not in PDF form. But you could check my video, the Ryzen or the Budget King 11400 Intel 11400F, the Rocket Lake CPU one. And you'll see all the testing there with all of that. So and that's with a 1070. That's not with a 3090. That's not with a 6900 XT overclock. That was with a 3070.
Mike Brazone said, in 3 or 4 years, 3600 replacements from Matisse or Vermeer will be super discounted, and that can go to a then current graphics card. Well, I would say if gaming is your primary focus anyway, I wouldn't really recommend a 3600 owner 3 or 4 years from now go buy a discounted, say, Ryzen 5600X or 5800X or 5900X, just because by then there will be parts that, like, by then you're probably going to be considering a whole new build specifically for being able to keep up with the latest graphics card. Although it still depends. I would imagine a current generation graphics card from 4 years from now, it's probably going to be pretty fast.
Mhm.
And you might be bottlenecking it even with a 5900X, which, by the way, in gaming is not that much faster than a 5600X, while both are still faster by a significant margin than a 3600. There'll probably be CPUs out that are even faster, and you can get like whatever the budget $185, $200 processor is of that generation and be fine.
So Liam in Wales says most normal gamers are not on top end GPUs and are always better off with a GPU upgrade. So I'm
Yes.
going to counter this statement with some personal examples. I have some friends that had Ryzen first and second gen CPUs. They mostly played stuff like League, like Counter-Strike, Valorant. They have really expensive monitors. They have really high-end gear. And they have a 2060. And they would ask me, is it worth it to go up and buy a 2080 instead or something else? And they had the equivalent of like an older Intel quad core or a Ryzen, first gen chip. And the amount of performance you would see in esports titles or in something like Escape from Tarkov and the kind of games that I benchmark a lot, which are games that people do play a lot. There's a lot of people playing those games. They put a lot of hours into them. You would see a bigger performance difference from going from first or second gen Ryzen to even third gen Ryzen in a massive way. Yeah, so Don Draper says even the i3 12100 faster.
Yes.
So yeah. Donnie, is there a way I can bring up a graph here?
You can share your screen.
Is it that easy? My that.
Share your screen and then choose the tab you want to share and it'll come up.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I think a mistake some people will often, or let me say, bad advice I see given a lot when it comes to people when building new systems is people will say, spend more money on your CPU because it'll make it last longer. And the truth is when we're talking about gaming, buying the latest generation CPU, like something from the latest generation product stack that is affordable for what you're doing and like meets the needs that you have right now is the best thing to be doing. Like don't buy the absolute bare minimum because then like you might find that in the life of of that system it stops meeting your needs. But don't buy a 16 core Ryzen processor today because it'll last a little bit longer if you don't actually need 16 cores right now for anything you do, or you're not going to benefit from 16 cores right now for anything you do. Buy the mainstream levels processor that costs a couple $100, and then later on buy the mainstream level processor that costs a couple $100 to get more performance. Unless your actual needs have changed and you need more cores and more other features that can do more demanding tasks. Don't get pulled into buying the i9 or even the i7 right now when you don't need i9, i7 level performance today. Because the later generation processors that are even cheaper are going to be faster in general.
So, this is kind of insane if you look at this graph. I mean, the average FPS here for the 1600 is 139 FPS. The average FPS for the 5600X or the 5600X is 314. The budget 11400, which everybody, a lot of people did not like Rocket Lake, is almost twice as fast as the 1600. And I mean, Donnie, how much was the 1600 going for last year? And 1600 AI.
The lowest price retail is about $80.
But most of the time it was sitting at about $120, right?
Yeah, average, I'd say.
So, I mean, the 11400 was at about $160. F or non-F, you would find one of them for 160, 170 bucks. So you would see a very big performance difference in buying like the budget CPU here. Or if you bought a 3600X, you see a difference of 60 frames here. This is a processor that you would not give a whole lot more for. And, look at it.
I think around the time of the launch
They were
of the
going for about 150
11400,
bucks or something. 180 bucks, something like that. They were around the price of the 11400. And then for 300 bucks, you get 314 FPS. And I think I can switch around some of the titles here. You can see like Counter-Strike, it's absurdly fast how high this is going. Dota 2, it's absurdly fast. So if you're just looking to get 140 FPS, a lot of these are fine. I think my conclusion was something along the lines of, if you just want to play games at 1080p at 60 hertz, everything here is fine. If you want to do it at 140, maybe you want to get something that's not the 1600. So like that's kind of the issue here, is that you have this like, well, gamers need to buy the GPU. They always need to buy a GPU. They always need to buy a GPU. Well, are gamers playing Crysis at max settings at 4K? Then yes, they always need to buy a GPU. But if they have a 360 hertz monitor or a 480 hertz monitor now, they're up to 500 almost now, Donnie.
Yeah.
You don't really need a 3090. So it's really about what you're trying to do here and what you want to achieve. If you want to achieve the best performance per dollar, if you want to achieve the longest like lifespan that you can get away with this thing, if you're willing to change the type of games you play because it runs on your system, all very different things. If you're the kind of person who's like, no, these are the games that I like and I will pay more money to get the experience that I want, then some of this advice is not really good.
Wellington WS asks, Ryzen 7000 will be compatible with DDR4? So everything we've heard from AMD so far suggests that AM5 platform is DDR5 only. At least that's the only thing well, I should say they've announced DDR5 support for it. They have not said whether or not it will be the processors will be backward compatible with DDR4, and if there will be DDR4 supported motherboards. I've seen another comment, I think it was from Al Bundy here, that said that unfortunately not AM5 will be DDR5 only. I don't think AMD has actually said that, although it can be inferred at this point. I agree that that's probably a mistake, although a lot can change by the time AM5 comes out, and perhaps by then DDR5 pricing will be low enough that it won't matter. Although I kind of wonder if anybody should really be buying AM5 first generation anyway. I mean, obviously some people will. Buying the first generation of any product is it's something you have to go in knowing that you're going to be dealing with some growing pains. Hopefully that's not the case, but it's been a rule of thumb so far. So I would just consider, waiting.
Yeah, I mean, I think
VA Demon said Jim's dream, different IO die for DDR4/DDR5 support. Maybe. I mean, we don't even know what the layout is going to be. We can assume that they're going to be doing individual CCDs again in an IO die of some sort. That would make sense. But they also will have monolithic designs too. Remember that. What current Ryzen 6000 mobile processors will be released on desktop as Ryzen 7000 processors as well. They will just be the G series, there'll be APUs. And so if those are DDR5 only, and I believe they are, that's looking like you're probably going to be seeing a platform that's DDR5 only.
Yeah, I mean, Don Draper said that they're flooring a bunch AM4 with a bunch of new SKUs. I really think what that's for is for anybody who's currently sitting on a first or second gen Ryzen chip that is not going to upgrade this to the new hardware or won't buy DDR5 or whatever, to give them options to upgrade this thing to get as much life out of their platform as they can.
It's also they want AM4 to stick around for a while as the budget option. Because trust me when I say AM5 will not be cheap. Not the processors, not the motherboards, and with DDR5, depending on where things go, not the memory.
That's actually a really good point, because you can have these things and you can lower the price a little bit, and you can have these quads and 6-core parts that are a couple $100, and you can have the cheaper motherboards, and then whatever these things have to cost or whatever AMD is going to try to sell them for, they can do, and they could say, well, you still have the option to buy the cheaper thing, which is fine.
Also, just remember what they did when they released Ryzen 5000. They only had X series parts. The cheapest part was $300. That, if you don't think that's AMD setting the tone for what you can expect, where they don't want to release an entire product stack out of the gate with a new architecture, where the lower priced parts are going to cannibalize the sales of the higher priced parts. No, they want early adopters to pay the early adopter fee so they can, get some of that R&D money back, I guess. And then later on, they'll release cheaper options like the Ryzen 7 5700X for apparently $300 that is coming. And that's for the people who didn't want to pay $400 or $500 or $450, I think it was, for a Ryzen 7 5800X.
What might be interesting, depending on performance numbers, depending on how far this goes, they might have something where, say, a 5900X or a 5950X would be faster than a part that would be selling for about the same price. You could just stop making the older part and make it disappear in the channel. So
yeah,
that might be a thing.
So yeah, definitely I can see AMD, their budget segment is just going to be older generation processors for now. And then as the platform matures, they will release actual budget parts on that platform. But by then, because again, don't expect them to release the budget chipset right out of the gate either. But we're at X570 right now, so let's call it X670 or whatever they call it. That'll be the launch motherboard chipset. But the B series chipset that is traditionally cheaper and still feature rich, that's going to be a little bit of a ways out.
I wouldn't be shocked if we see boards starting at $200 for the cheapest one. I would not be shocked. I also wouldn't be too surprised if they're more sitting around $300.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you couldn't even buy a motherboard for $200 on AM5. That's just the again, but don't look at that when it happens and be discouraged by it and think, well, this isn't, this platform isn't for me at all. No, they will cater to you at one point. You just wait.
Well, I had some people saying last year to me, when I did that video, they kept saying, well, yeah, but like it's going to be really close till they have Zen 4 and AM5, and I'm just going to wait for that. And I think I said a few times, I wouldn't wait on that. That's going to be really expensive. It's going to be, you're going to have DDR5, you're going to have all the issues with the new platform. If you're looking to wait and you're like, I'll just wait another 6 months and this new thing comes out, it's still not out now, and you're gonna have to wait 6 months after the launch to find the stuff that you want. If you're budget conscious, I guess 3, 4, 6 months, something like that.
Yeah. The good news is that at least this time around we have a really competitive platform in terms of performance from Intel, and there's the product stack across the board with Alder Lake does look good, and they have motherboard options for everybody. SB6 Z690 is expensive, but like I said, there's B660 that is perfectly adequate for most people, and they're reasonable in price. So by then, we'll be much closer to we'll be at the Raptor Lake launch. So not only will you have discounted Alder Lake CPUs, but you'll also have Raptor Lake in the channel as well, and that should put enough, at least some pressure on AMD that maybe they'll be even more competitive. So that is at least one thing to look forward to. AMD knows, at least for this launch, they're not the only game in town right now.
Mm-hmm.
Don Draper said, better off waiting for Zen 5 because then you'll have budget Zen 4 options as well and motherboards, not to mention Intel offering as well. Yeah. I mean, maybe not all the way to Zen 5, but maybe midway through for sure, you'll start to see budget Zen 4, budget motherboards, and then of course, yeah, like I just said, the Intel offerings are they look nice now, so they should look even nicer then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless Zen 4 is so much better than even Raptor Lake that it's not even competitive, but I don't expect that, and I don't think
Unless
anybody
inflation goes up another 60%.
If that's the case, we're going to have a lot more to worry about than what the price of a CPU is, let's be honest.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of people were really worried about this stuff when, they were locked inside their houses and we all thought we were going to die.
That's because everybody was bored. But there's a difference between bored and bread lines, Alex.
I mean, is there though? Think about it.
I don't know. Getting knifed in a bread line is anything but boring.
Why do they got to get knifed?
Because somebody wants your place in the bread line because they don't want to starve. Man, what are you not getting?
Yeah, but you'll only go up one spot.
It depends. I could knife somebody that's at the top of the spot.
Well, then the guy behind him will knife you. Now you just started a stabbing ring. This is just not good for anything.
It's a dog eat dog world, Alex, and I've got a bigger knife. Listen, I just want to stab somebody, all right?
Someone's
always wanted to commit a stabbing.
Someone's going to clip that and take that out of context.
What am I going to do? Maybe I'll blow up and act like I don't know nobody. Nicodemus said, Alex has the point. The recent threat was pandemic. Now it's World War III fears. Yeah, it's really feeling like the 2020s are not going to be any better than the 1920s.
And then we're going to have the 2030s, which are probably going to be even worse for different reasons. Anyways, VA Demon says that this is going to be reported to the authorities. Thank you very much, VA Demon. We do not support narcs. Not a fan.
Going to scalp loaves of bread in the line, only 5%, 100% over MSRP.
Yeah, no, if people think... So that's the thing that bothers me is I see some people saying stuff like, well, I bought an RX 580 for $200. Why can't we have that option? I'm like, I can't have hamburger meat for what I paid 2 weeks ago. Forget about the graphics card I bought 8 years ago.
Yeah. I was paying less than $2 a gallon for gas not long ago either. That ship has sailed, boys. I'm just
gonna say this. This place that I'm in right now, there was less ugly couches. You have to imagine it would have been even more expensive. The rent has almost doubled in the past 2 years on the same place.
Michael said knifing someone in the bread line or knifing someone in the queue at Micro Center to advance a place for 3090. See, now you're getting it. You're understanding the world we live in now, and I think you're embracing it, and I support it.
I'm gonna say this. The 3090 might be worth more money now, but you can't eat a 3090. Think about that.
You can eat anything if you try hard enough.
Yeah, but that can't be healthy to eat all the chemicals and the silicon and the metals and the alloy. Whatever. It's gotta be better than not eating, right? No, it's better than not.
Listen, I have a very simplistic view of the world, Alex, and you're not gonna change
One
that.
Mouth has the best comment here. Thumbs up for stabbing.
Thumbs up for stabbing, indeed.
Look at my YouTube hosts. We are never going to get serious advertisers.
Carrie said, "Resolves crisis, reads news about next crisis."
Well, that's the thing
emoji.
about these. You can only have one crisis at a time. So as soon as one ends, we need to like find another one.
I need to get in that manufacturing crisis business, man. That seems lucrative.
Took me a full year after Zen 3 release to consider buying one because of low availability and high price. I understand. I wanted a 3900X and I ended up not getting one sample from AMD, and then I just bought one. I bought a 3800X on eBay, and I got a decent deal for it used because I just couldn't get one.
Nicodemus said, "You can't eat a knife either." That's true, but you can stab someone with.
You could eat them.
Oh, now we're talking cannibalism? I think you and I might think things are going to get much worse than they are. But, you hope for the best. Maybe you do. And you prepare for the worst.
Do you hope for the best? I don't know.
No.
So ray trace silicon right in the belly.
I like this one. VA Demon said, "I baked my GTX 570 3 or 4 times, lost count. You won't tell me I can't chew on it." Yeah, I mean, to me, that's cooked to perfection.
This is going back in the day. He probably only put it in the oven once. It probably baked in his case like 3 of those times. You might be able to cook on a 4090 soon. Yeah, I mean, that might be a way to save some of your energy bills.
Yeah. Are the latest leaks saying that like that thing's going to draw like 600 watts?
It's something insane. Insane.
So I need like a Tesla to power my graphics card. Like I don't.
With the price of fuel, I mean, you might not be able to run that thing ever.
Oh no, it's. Let's see here. I saw someone else. Unless you've got a 3090, in which case you can run Crisis off of the VRAM. Yeah, that's a different way to start a Crisis. I like puns, guys. I'm a dad.
Q at Micro Center for a laugh and came out in stitches from the stabbing, right? Sorry to hear that.
I'm really sorry about that. The weird thing is I was only there to check what like pricing was for an article. I didn't even need to buy anything. I just get really stabby sometimes.
This is why you had to leave the city, isn't it? Too many people to stab.
I might have had some outstanding warrants.
That's not good. We can't joke. Then we're gonna get taken off of YouTube for this.
Will I?
I mean, what can you say on YouTube now, guys?
Nothing, but whatever. You could probably heat a mid-sized office building with that 4090. I mean, probably. I have a 6800 XT and a 5900X in this room, and it heats this office up. And I mean, this office is like, I'd say 12 by 13. So, yeah.
So when Bitcoin jumped up last year, like right in the beginning, I was mining a little bit in the winter. And I turned down my heat because 3 graphics cards running at all times generate quite a bit of heat. Oh my god! No. I gotta read that out loud. VA Demon says Q Windows update before it finishes. World War III begins. Get drafted and
Nicodemus said, "May have to change the old song Mac the Knife to Donnie the Knife." Listen, I love Bobby Darin, and yes, I do listen to it while I commit my stabbings.
Donnie, do you ever listen to the song of Butcher Pete from Fallout 3? It's a really old song.
No. Have you or anyone else verified Microsoft's claims that Windows 11 is 50% safer against malware? My friend is getting a new laptop, and I thought this is true, so I'm trying to get him that. So I would imagine that claim probably comes from the fact that Windows 11 by default has Trusted Platform Module 2.0 enabled as a requirement. You could technically disable it, but then you don't get Windows updates or something like that. So yeah, I mean, obviously having Trusted Platform Module enabled is going to make for a safer browsing experience because you have less of a chance of malware that is very compromising. I'm not a security expert by any means. I have no way to verify their claims though, but I would lean towards they're probably bullshitting.
Michael here says, waiting in queue at the Micro Center, someone came up to me with a knife and said, "Can your mother sew?" I said, "Yes." He stabbed me and then said, "Tell your mother to stitch that."
Old Glasgow joke. I don't see. Can your mother sew is actually something. That's from Christopher Walken says that in is it Joe Dirt?
Sometimes I think so.
Like, hey, does your mother sew? Get her to sew that. It's like pretty good.
You can always tell when it's someone is speaking the Queen's English instead of our proper American English when they say queue instead of line. It sounds so proper. Queue.
Carrie said, regardless of the veracity of Microsoft's malware claims, it would behoove your friend to get a laptop that's Windows 11 ready. If for no other reason, then it will be supported longer. That is correct, actually. I didn't think about that at first when I was addressing the original question, but this was a very well-written comment. And with proper English, I like it.
Is your name actually Carrie Fatsies? Is that like a pun or something? I'm very curious. I feel like I'm missing.
Oh, I get it. I think, or maybe I don't get it. Maybe I'm getting something that's not really there.
I don't get it.
It's my legal name.
Wow.
Well, then in that case, I'm sorry. I am afraid.
I am. Look, man, I just everywhere I go on the internet, I have the little Doom Guy profile picture, and that's it. Protects me. No one knows you're a dog on the internet. I'm sorry too, Donnie. This guy's great.
Why are you sorry? My name is fine. No. Do you think Intel will launch DG3 sometime this year? The DG3 is whatever's after Alchemist, right? No. I think Alchemist is the only thing they'll be launching this year in terms of graphics cards, but there'll probably be a couple of different ones. So, by the way, Michael said, by the way, the first name Michael is obvious. The second name, Niger, I believe I pronounced that right, is the German word for a rodent, and a mouse is a kind of rodent. So my name means Mickey Mouse.
Pretty cool.
That would have been better if I read that whole comment properly, but I didn't. But still, Mickey Mouse, that's pretty cool. I like it.
So yeah, I mean, I think anything else we want to cover today?
No, that's about it. And if there's no other pressing comments in the chat, I think we're probably going to end it here. We're about 2 hours in, so that's usually where I'd like to stop it. With that, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I'd also like to remind everybody to please remember to like and subscribe if you're watching this either now or later on during the VOD. Also, if you can, consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/adoredtech. Or if you're not interested in supporting us on Patreon, maybe you'd like a cool shirt like this one that says, "All right, guys, how's it going?" You can check that out at merch.adored.tech. Makes us a few bucks for every shirt or whatever you buy. And it definitely helps to support the channel and the content that we produce. And we will see you guys next week.